Hey guys, and welcome back to the channel. Happy New Year. 2026 is finally here. In 2025, I put out many videos on the state of cannabis in Thailand because there's been a lot of turmoil. If you've been following my channel, you know. Be sure you check out the 2025 Thailand Weed Almanac for a good rundown of how we got to here, and also the boots on the ground as I go in and kind of do some reporting on the ground in Thailand. And but this one, I'm going to combine 3 short videos that I did. One is why you can't get a straight answer from 1 or 2 sources, why you really need to source out your information very thoroughly, why everything's so confusing to get answers about cannabis in Thailand. Number 2 is if you're just getting off the plane and you want to know how to smoke, where to smoke, how it all works, what's the system like, what you need to look for, then I've got a section on that too in this video. And finally, we're going to look ahead. Well, not ahead now. We're going to look to 2026. I do expect some parliamentary moves made in Thailand on cannabis. So that's going to legitimize the industry, I think, a little better. Maybe put some guardrails in that should have been in place all along. That's what I'm hopeful for, and I'll give you my best guesses on that. But for now, be sure you like, subscribe, comment, and share, and enjoy the video.
It's incredible that even my most trusted sources have incomplete information, or in some cases verifiably inaccurate information. That doesn't mean you throw those sources out. So this video, which is a portion of a greater video that has 3 different parts, this part is going to focus on why that is, right? Why are we getting such incomplete and inaccurate information? So the umbrella around the whole thing, the reason why there's so much out there that kind of contradicts or raises questions is because there have been changes, right? There have been changes not only in the, I would say, legal status, though not by law, by ministerial decree. And this is why cannabis is not protected by law. It's protected by ministerial order, right? Which was set up by Anaton in 2022 as a response to the COVID crisis. That's when commercial licensing for recreational cannabis came about, and the industry exploded. There were some regulatory frameworks that were supposed to be followed, but if you don't have adequate enforcement measures, then they're just not going to comply. That's just how it is. It's like a show me you mean this if you're a business owner, right? So that is kind of the umbrella under which you get a lot of people talking about it. So I've tried to be clear in my almanac video and in other videos that there's a lot of this that's anecdotal, right? So there is some reporting out there, some news, some facts on the ground, news stations reporting this or that. Some of that may be accurate, but it may not tell the whole picture. And so that's why I'm here, to just kind of try and make sense of that for you. I'm not a leading authority in one area, in a legal area or another, but I got a pretty good idea as to what's going on. So number 1, AI searches are very lacking when it comes to current events, and particularly current events that involve political maneuvers, right? So you look up right now, ChatGPT or Perplexity or whatever, they're going to all tell you what the ministerial order of the Pheu Thai party has decreed. And they're going to say that that's a legal basis in the framework, and that's how it is. So if you look at that, you're going to think, oh my God, I can't smoke in Thailand right now unless I go to a doctor and get a prescription and get a doctor's note and all of that. That is not true. Now, that was true for some of these commercially licensed vendors, that the government did go in and crack down and revoke licenses or give them a deadline to comply. And I've mentioned that in another video. But the overarching theme right now is that has subsided, simmered down, with a few remnants left over of places that tried to comply or changed a little bit of how they do businesses, or maybe they stopped allowing smoking on site. Things like that, right? So this all comes from the ebbs and flows of this party takes power, they issue an order, and so it is enforceable because they are enforcing it. But maybe it wouldn't stand up in a court of law, but by then the damage is done to this vendor or that business or these consumers. You get the picture, right? You'll find media outlets in Thailand, or much like media outlets in, say, the United States or any other place, which is there are going to be agendas. So you've got some media outlets that clearly have a bias against recreational cannabis and some that are clearly for it, right? So you can do some reading on your own, and you can read 2 of them side by side and wonder if they're talking about the same country. That's the truth of the matter. I've done it. I do a lot of research for these videos to combat my own biases from anecdotal evidence, what I've experienced going here or there. right? So I want to give you a complete picture. So news outlets, I don't want to say they can't be trusted, but I'm just saying you need to verify it up against other news sources and come into an agreement of, well, this one kind of got over their skis when they said this about that, and this one is the other direction, and so maybe I need to find and verify these parts of information to get a real answer, okay? So you'll find a lot of YouTubers, a lot of ones that I follow, shout out to all of you guys doing the work, and their experiences are going to be largely anecdotal. Or they'll do research, kind of like I do, but you will hear a lot of comments of people on videos that I've done that said nothing changed, which is verifiably false, right? And then you'll find others that say, yeah, they're shutting down all the businesses that do this or that. That's also verifiably false, right? So here you have what's called a gray area, and Thailand is very well known for it. Good example is that prostitution is illegal, but we all know, there are massage shops, there's girly bars, there's all sorts of different places where you can meet somebody, and through your interaction, you can come to an agreement where you pay money, they give you sex or sexual activity, right? And the Thai government is not stupid, and they know what's going on, and they know it's a huge part of a huge business, a huge revenue booster, and big for tourism, and they leave it largely alone, unless we're talking about trafficking, right? Don't want that, human trafficking, and we don't want minors involved, right? But other than that, it just kind of operates. So you have these gray areas, and they exist all over the place. That lends to the confusion, but that also is a proving ground for what we want to keep and what we don't want to keep. That's why what Anaton did in 2022 was really monumental and cutting edge, as basically opening this entire industry up for free market capitalism, and then worrying about the consequences later, right? So a lot of people in Thailand did not like that part of it, and it's understandable. The Thai people don't smoke this nearly as much as tourists do. So many Thai people I know just do not smoke. They don't like the smell, which is funny in the land of durian and the land of rampant cigarette smoking, that they don't like that smell of cannabis, right? But that's their prerogative, right? So this no public smoking is not allowed. Smoking cannabis is not allowed in public in Thailand. It becomes a gray area when you have a place that operates like this, like most places in Thailand that don't have four walls, a ceiling, doors, and air conditioner and air purifiers to make sure that smoking on their site doesn't seep out into the public. So most places where you can buy cannabis are going to smell as you walk past them, right? So, okay, maybe in big tourist areas, but if you're in a neighborhood, maybe you don't really like that. You don't want your family, your kids smelling it when they walk by and be like, that smells good. I can't wait to try that. Let me go to a vending machine and get some. Anyway, so this is why you have issues with credibility by just using one source, right? So I'm going to tell you right now, if you want to go to Thailand and smoke, you can do so illegally. No big deal. No big deal. It's like going a few miles over the speed limit. No one's ever going to stop you, right? If they do, it's going to be a slap on the hand, don't do that again, pay us $50, something like that, right? But if you're out flaunting it and you're smoking while you're walking down the street and an officer comes up, that is highly illegal. Don't do it. Don't do it, or be prepared to face the consequences, which can include around a $600 fine and expulsion from the kingdom and without being able to come back. So those are the risks you take if you blatantly flaunt, Thai law. But going into a shop that says you can smoke here when you ask them, and then you sit down and smoke there, the onus is really going to be on the owner, not the tourist that's just doing what the shop owner said they could do, if that makes sense. And we'll talk about that more when we talk about the different types of places that you can get and possibly smoke weed in Thailand. But I thought it was important to include that here. So I would caution you, as you're watching YouTube or TikTok or reading something here or there, to decipher whether someone's giving you an anecdotal evidence or if they're quoting what is a legal order that's on the books. And if they're not mentioning that, look, you can go all over Thailand and smoke. You can walk 100 meters on a main road or even a side road and come across multiple places where you can buy cannabis and smoke it even. So I just want to include that in here, and that hopefully clears up a little bit as to why you can't count on your Google, your Perplexity, your AI searches, or even one particular YouTube person that you're following. You're going to get 100 different takes on it, but the real take from being on the ground is I don't worry about it. I can find places to smoke, I can find places to buy, and you can too. All right? Okay, so this is part of a three-part series just on basic Thailand cannabis. This particular video, we're going to focus on the different ways you can get cannabis. Those of you who are in Thailand, share some of your places, your favorite places, whether it be for price or a place you can smoke or a good place that you can get the quality product for a good price, things like that. Share with us maybe a Google Map link of your favorite place or places. Let us know what city it's in and why you recommend it. Okay, so that will be your help that you can give me, because I know a lot of you here are kind of seasoned vets when it comes to cannabis in Thailand. I'm glad to have you here. But for those of you who've never visited before, or maybe it's been so long that you are unaware of the cannabis culture in Thailand, basically in 2018, medical cannabis was legalized in Thailand, and that stood until an emergency decree in 2022 during the COVID crisis, which allowed for recreational shops to open and sell cannabis. And so you did see a flood of different shops open under commercial licensing, not medical licensing. And so that's been kind of the gray area of enforcement that brought us into 2025 when a new ministerial order, not law, because cannabis wasn't legalized through law, through parliamentary procedure, but through this order decided to go back to a medical-only framework, which put a lot of places at risk, thousands and thousands of vendors, commercially licensed vendors at risk. So anyway, that has since kind of subsided, the crackdown on that, which did have some substantial effect for different businesses throughout Thailand, even if anecdotally a lot of people said nothing ever changes, or that nothing ever changed. Verifiably, some things changed for people in different areas that I've witnessed and that you can find from reporting. Okay, so another part of this video is going to talk about why it's so hard to get a really good answer when you're trying to learn about what's going on in Thailand, right? So check that video out, or the full video, which includes this video, that one, and the other topic, which will be what's happening moving forward and what to expect at the end of 2025 going into 2026. So without further ado, let's get started into the different ways that you can get cannabis when you hop off a plane in Thailand, okay? So the first thing I've touched on, there are medically licensed shops that have been around since 2018 or before 2022 that went through a medical licensing procedure. They're going to be all buttoned up as far as procedures go. They do not require a doctor's note and prescription to give cannabis out, since this was kind of, we'll say, decriminalized in 2022. So if you're just a traveler walking in, you don't have to go to a doctor first for these places at this point. They will sell to you. But the framework is medical, and so that's been kind of their upper hand leading into 2022, and something they can kind of wear as a badge of honor and skate some of the crackdown that happened earlier this year. So these places are going to be cannabis only. They're not going to sell any other products except for maybe some paraphernalia, maybe lighter or something like that. So they're going to be more expensive generally, because their product goes through the actual licensing requirements and tracking requirements under medical law. So these places, there was little or no effect during the recent crackdown. Okay, so these places kind of had their own success before anything happened in 2022, and certainly with 2025. So, and then you have other shops that are recreational shops. These are the ones that popped up by the thousands, possibly tens of thousands, since the 2022 framework was put in place. They have commercial licenses to sell product, but not a medical license. So even if you walk in with your prescription and everything, that just doesn't concern them at all. Now these can be shops that are a part of other shops. They don't necessarily have to be standalone shops. They will allow smoking on site in some instances, but a lot of them are very small. They might be a kiosk or a little kind of shotgun garage looking place where there's not enough room to sit and smoke. Maybe they'll let you smoke outside or something like that. But these recreational places are what most of us want when we come to Thailand. And you try to escape the heat in Thailand different ways during the day, and a good smoking lounge that's indoors and air conditioned is a great way to do that. And this will be mostly under this recreational framework. These places did freak out a little bit in 2025. Not all of them. Some of them just kind of brushed it off, and they're kind of waiting for the government to come in because their only option maybe is to do that. They don't put as much money into opening the business. Like I said, a lot of them are standalone kiosks. They might be renting a space as a part of a larger business. They might be a part of that larger business. So you'll find a lot of places that are live music and selling beer and food and maybe some products, T-shirts and touristy type of things. And then you've got a kiosk that sells marijuana. Now, these prices are going to vary. They're going to maybe offer some high quality bud, but they're also going to offer some lower priced options. At your medical only places, you're going to find most of your offerings are going to be in that high price range, right, with high THC as well. So places that take great pride in how they grow their cannabis, and they want that license, and they want to be a verified vendor or trusted, reputable vendor, right? So a lot of recreational places, they're not going to have labels on what it is that you're smoking. They may tell you what it is, but you don't have anything. You don't have to tell them how much percentage of THC is in it, what other terpenes or cannabinoids might be involved in it. So it's just a lot looser framework. This has been the gray area of enforcement that's led to this explosion of cannabis in Thailand that the previous administration was trying to rein in here in 2025. They got a little overzealous, right, as can often happen when you're not requiring a parliamentary consensus on something, but rather a one party deciding this is what my constituents want, right? So the Thai people, a lot of them, they don't like the smell, they don't like the public nature of it. So, and this is important, smoking on site is illegal. Okay, does that mean you can't go and smoke on site? Nope. That's going to be the equivalent of going a few miles over the speed limit. Nobody's ever going to bust you for that. Yeah, you might find an anecdotal case where somebody was sitting in the wrong place at the wrong time. Maybe they got fined a little bit of money as a tourist, but I haven't heard that at all. So, and whenever I go to Thailand, I don't worry about it. So I just find a place that allows me to smoke and I go and smoke there. I always ask when I go in. Some places look like they should allow smoking on site. You go in and it smells like cannabis in there. They've got a couch or two, but they don't allow it inside. So maybe they allow it outside, or maybe they don't at all. That's why you always have to ask. But this is kind of how the recreational scene works. Just an aside or two on smoking on site, right? Because it is illegal, technically. If you get off a plane in Bangkok or Phuket or wherever you're going, Chiang Mai, and you come across, you just look up cannabis on Google Maps and you find a cluster of shops. Just if you're wanting to just find a place to smoke on site, go to that cluster of sites on whatever street that it's on, and you'll have an array of places that will allow you to smoke on site. Not all of them will have aircon, right? So I always recommend in Thailand, if you plan on spending time out during the day, even if you're going inside to different businesses, just recognize it's not like it is, say, in the United States, where when it gets above 70, 75 degrees, you've got AC running to keep that temperature down. A lot of it can be similar to what I've got right here, which is a place that's kind of indoor-outdoor. And so it's in the shade, so it's not maybe 100 degrees and 90% humidity, but it's still kind of hot. So if you're wanting to spend an hour or two there, or anywhere, eating, same thing. You can find this in a lot of restaurants. I recommend having some sort of fan and a dry cloth, just to kind of help keep you cool during that period of time. And a lot of these lounges, they actually will be like co-working spaces where you can actually get some work done, and that's what I use them for a lot. I don't smoke as much as I used to, but when I'm in Thailand, I smoke a lot because, or I smoke often. I don't necessarily smoke a lot at one time. I smoke often because I will go somewhere expecting to work for 2 or 3 hours at a place, and I've already been to a cafe, and I've already been to a coffee shop, and now I'm wanting something different. So I'll just go get a bottle of water and 100 baht $3 joint, and I'll sit there and puff on it a little bit, get some work done, right? So whenever I leave Thailand, a lot of times I've got a lot of half-smoked roaches in there. Now, you can go to a lot of these smoke shops, and like I said, they sell other things, whether it's food or drink or whatever. So you can go there and get a drink and bring your own and smoke on site there. I always ask just out of consideration, and I even will tell them, hey, I bought this here a few days ago. Is it okay if I smoke here? But generally, if you're buying something there, they don't care where that smoke came from. You can go ahead and smoke where they allow smoking. So that just gives you an idea of what you're looking for when you are trying to find a smoking lounge. Google Maps is good because you can find either in comments or pictures that, yeah, this is a smoking lounge, a place that I can sit and chill. A couple other ways you can get weed in Thailand. Number one is online. So, and this was very dark webbish during the crackdown. I had to know a guy that gave me a link to somebody and said, "Don't advertise this," right? Because they didn't want the smoke. But you can find good prices on weed online, and they'll deliver it to you in a matter of a day or two. And I got it from my dad in Chiang Mai because we were waiting for him to get his medical certificate and license, and he needs it to survive. So we wanted to make sure that he had that available. So I had it sent to him. very cheap and good. So you can get very cheap, good weed online. Probably is not going to be super legal as far as tracing the product through the GACP, Good Agricultural Products framework that Thailand has set up. And and so online sales are a way to go, especially if you're going to be there for a little bit and you don't mind and you have a good place to deliver it, or it's possible they would have a pickup place for you. So you can kind of check that out, but not with me at this point. Lastly, you can actually get cannabis in vending machines. I have not seen these, right? It seems like a very bad idea. One of the things that's been a big sticking point is the availability being made to underage people, which most of us can agree you really don't want to do. You really want to keep it out of the hands of kids the best you can. And having vending machines is not the best you can. So another part of this series, I'm going to talk about some of the things I've been hearing that may take place toward the end of this year, beginning of next year, with a new government to kind of legitimize and build a stronger framework of enforcement for some of these egregious type of things, I think like vending machines where anybody can go up and pick out your weed and get it. Online also probably needs a little bit more tightening up. But anyway, that'll be in another video. So this is just to help you out. Pricing. One thing I want to say about pricing before we wrap this up is that most of your weed, if you just walk into a random place, most of your prices for weed are going to run between 250 baht and 450 baht. Every 100 baht is about $3 US. So you're looking, between $8 and $15 most of the time for grams. Most of the time they'll also roll it for you or stuff a joint for you if you don't want to purchase any paraphernalia to smoke while you're there. So anyway, but a lot of these places will offer a low-cost option, and maybe it's going to be shake or lower THC weed, which I prefer. Like I said, I don't smoke as much as I used to. That low THC is pretty good for me. And they'll offer maybe an indica or sativa. One of my favorite places offers an indica and sativa joint all the time for 150 baht. So that's $4.50 US, give or take. And that's a really good deal, especially if I'm going to hang out there for a few hours and get some work done. So, and then upward of, you can have stuff that's 600, 800 baht. And that's the type of place and the type of weed that you go in and you ask about it, and they're going to have a sheet that's going to tell you, they'll be able to go down a list of why that weed is so much more expensive than that weed. Generally, places aren't going to just offer that higher end. So if $8 to $15 a gram is okay with you, you'll find that in nearly 100% of the places that you go. But there's a place in Chiang Mai, Riverside Dispensary, which has just a ton of very low cost options. We're talking about 29 baht for a gram, which is less than $1, on up to 150, 250. But they have a large selection of lower cost, under 100 baht a gram joints and grams. So I hope that gives you a little bit of an idea of what to expect. Okay, so time for a little future casting, right? So this is nothing that I'm hearing from people inside the Thai government, right? But some of the things that I've read and seen are kind of, I think, foreshadowing what will come, I think, early in 2026 as the newly formed coalition decides to kind of lend some credibility and fairness, justice to the recreational cannabis industry, which will serve as a good omen for consumers, business owners, and Thai residents alike. So that is kind of a win-win-win situation where everybody gets something, and I think that's what we're going to be looking at. So let's just do some future casting and see how right I am come early 2026 when I expect them to take up the cannabis measures kind of more in full, maybe get some parliamentary agreements across the finish line. So Thailand has had 3 years of a test market run, which I think is a great way to kind of legalize something, is to give it a test market, a test run. In the States, test markets make more sense. Thailand is not an enormous country, right? So the government can easily just kind of say, hey, we're trying this, and kind of set up a framework, but be a little bit relaxed as the industry is trying to get off the ground, and then double back around and see what they need to fix. And that's what I think has happened here. So there is a chance, there's a good opportunity to correct and right some of the wrongs, to fix some of the loopholes and make this legitimate. One of the big things I would say is to address smoking. So smoking on site should not be treated the same as smoking in public, where you just walk around and you're smoking on the streets. That is, both of these things are illegal under current law, but many shops will allow you to go in and smoke. So that is great for the consumer. It's not really fair to a business who's abiding by the law and says, no, that's illegal, right? So I would love for it to just be where everybody can smoke on site if the business allows it. And I do think that that is something that we can maybe look forward to. I do expect them to take up the issue of smoking on site, and in the process maybe become a little bit more stringent on people who are just out flaunting and smoking in public. So expect smoking to be addressed. I think that they will say that if you sell it, then you as a business owner can allow someone to smoke on site. Smoking on site doesn't mean that it's indoors, right? So most businesses are kind of a little bit like this. Maybe there's a canopy, it's an indoor-outdoor type of vibe, and the smell of the cannabis smoke will seep onto the street where passersby are going. So that is something that the local Thais would have to kind of put up with if this ends up being the case. So it depends on how much weight they put on the Thai citizens and their right to walk by somewhere and not smell cannabis smoke, which right now they're smelling it everywhere, right? So the second one is I expect there to be more stringent enforcement of the products, the registration, making sure they're all GACP certified so that everyone is having to abide by the same practices. Again, it's not fair for someone to be able to offer cannabis for a cheaper price because they get it from a guy instead of going through lawful practices. So it's not fair to the ones who have spent all their money and time opening up these businesses and doing it the right way. So I think that that needs to be addressed, and I'm pretty sure that it will be addressed. That is one of the things that the Thai enforcement has shined a light on, is that so many places that are still selling black market cannabis. And so that's just not fair to business owners who are trying to do the right thing. A big question mark is going to be how much control localities should be able to have to keep the smell of cannabis off their streets. So places like heavy tourist areas haven't been hugely affected by the crackdown, but maybe more residential areas where you've got some people calling up and reporting businesses and saying, this is my neighborhood, I've lived here, my family's lived here their whole life, and now we can't walk down X street, Y street without the smell of cannabis and our kids and our grandkids smelling it. So that's going to be an interesting one. So I think whatever they decide on this, you can expect tourist areas to be exempt from some crackdowns. Okay, that's just kind of how it goes, right? And that's how it goes in other areas too. There are gray areas in Thailand where legality and enforcement, there's a big gap. For example, prostitution is illegal in Thailand, but we all know there are people that will sell their services for a fee to an adult, right? So you go into massage parlor or a girly bar, or you see freelancers in these types of areas that will make a deal with you if you're a guy or a girl, and so they will sell services for money. Okay, so the Thai government, they know this is happening. Law enforcement, they know it's happening, but there's that gray area where the letter of the law and enforcement of the law, it's kind of a big gap there. So that has happened in this industry too, the cannabis industry, the big gap between the enforcement and the actual laws on the books. So I would look for there to be a kind of a tightening up of that so that there are better measures of control. Right now, I don't know what that's going to look like, but I do think that they're going to err on the side of freedom. I expect there to be some possible ID requirements becoming enforced, and I think that that is a good thing. In the States, if you want to go and buy alcohol, you have to show your ID if you look like you're under 30. Sometimes in Thailand, everybody looks under 30, right? So, but some sort of ID control, maybe especially if you're ordering a large quantity. I think that's going to be, the smuggling and the selling and then redistributing. I think that's going to be something that's going to be monitored a little closer. And I think ID is a good way to do that. So, if you're a tourist coming, you most always have your passport on you anyway. If you're going someplace new, if you're going to a doctor or you're going, they all ask for a passport or an ID. And so that could be something that, kind of infiltrates this industry. And again, when the government shows that they're serious about enforcement, the shops are going to follow suit and follow the law. much closer. That's just how it goes. So those mass purchases, tracking mass purchases, that also leaks into online sales, I think, too. So I think there's going to have to be some sort of accountability there for who's buying what online, so that it's not just somebody that's buying for him and his extended family and just handing it out, to everybody. So there might be some limits on the amount you can buy in a month, or it might just be something that's just tracked for general purposes. Thailand does have digital ID tracking now, so this is kind of the way that it's going, digital payments, everything digital, so that there is more control. And I know that scares a lot of people, but again, Thailand is pretty cutting edge with how they've approached the whole cannabis industry. So kudos to Thailand for taking the chance, for jumping off that ledge and trying to figure it out as they go. Vending machines are legal. I've never seen them before, but apparently you can kind of go and you can purchase in a vending machine just like you get a drink or a refreshment of some sort. And so those are probably going to go away to the extent that they haven't already. And there's weed shop on every corner in Thailand of some form or fashion. So the need for vending machines probably isn't as high, no pun intended. So, lastly, I would expect, or I would hope that I don't expect this, I hope that there's a way for people to cultivate this themselves if they have a medical license. Residents of Thailand, Thai citizens who it's maybe harder for them to get around, should be able to maybe do this themselves and smoke their own product. I'm from Portland, Oregon, and Oregon allows you to, up to 6 plants at a time, even just recreationally. So that would be something cool for the Thai people that need it to be able to do that, save themselves some time and money, and it's fun to grow stuff. And lastly, edibles, the edibles, those did kind of come off of a lot of shelves when the Thai government was kind of walking around, because that's never been legal to sell recreationally. That's been only medically available, even once recreational became kind of the thing. So hopefully there's going to be some clarity and enforcement on that, either to allow people to sell them, but they have to go through the local guidelines for good products, so that you know what's in it and you know how much is in it, right? One thing we haven't touched on is that there are places where you can see them selling magic mushrooms, right, and kratom and things like that. Magic mushrooms are strictly illegal, and the fact that you can see it written on people's boards is kind of odd to me. So when there is enforcement of all these other things, I would expect there to be enforcement of that too. However, there are strict penalties for people who violate those as is. So what do you think? If you've been following this, what do you think about the possibilities of the things that I've said? Do you welcome those changes? Do you want those changes for the Thai people? If you're a consumer or a visitor, what do you think about legitimizing? Maybe it's going to cost a little bit more if you're legitimizing the product at every location so that you can't get it on the black market. Tell me what you think about that.
And that's it, guys. So again, happy 2026 to you. May it be very merry. Drop a comment and let me know how I'm doing. I'll be sure to get you some more content in the future. I appreciate you guys. We'll see you in the next video. Bye.